Let's make some plant-based Samoa Girl Scout cookies. Welcome to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today we are making Samoas. You know, those Girl Scout cookies that are like crispy on the bottom and coconutty and caramely and chocolatey, all of those yummy, yummy things, because it is Girl Scout cookie time. I love to support them, but I also like to eat these in a healthier way, so there's no sugar spike, no refined sugars. So let's dig in and make them. So we're going to start with our cookie base. You're going to have to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then you're going to need a food processor, because this is what's going to get it all, really nice and consistent, so it makes a really nice crisp cookie. So I've got 3/4 of a cup of almond flour, 3/4 of a cup of rolled oats, 1/3 of a cup of pitted dates, and these are douglet dates, but you could also use medjool dates, the same measurement. 1 tablespoon of tahini, then 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, and then 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're just going to get this spinning in our food processor until it's a really nice uniform fine crumble. And then I have about 2 tablespoons of water here that we're just going to drizzle while it's running after you get to that really good crumb consistency. And that's what's going to help it come together and clump up in a ball. Okay, so you know you're there when you can take some of that cookie dough and press it together and it really sticks together well. And you don't want it to feel really wet, but you just want it to be able to stick to itself really well. All right, so I'm going to grab my cookie sheet and a rolling pin and some parchment paper, and then I'll show you how to do the next step. Okay, for the next step, you're going to need some kind of cookie cutter. This is a 3-inch cookie cutter, round. And then you're going to need something to create a little hole in the center. And this is just an apple core that works absolutely perfect, because you can just kind of press it down and it pops right out. Rolling pin, some parchment paper, and then a baking tray with another piece of parchment paper on it. All right, so to get started, we're just going to pour our dough out here on our parchment. We're just going to set our food processor aside because we're going to need that for the next step. All right, so clump it up together, kind of press it down into, just like a square or rectangle, whatever, so that it's easier to start rolling it out. All right, so we're going to roll this out, and they're going to be pretty thin, probably a couple millimeters thick, because it needs to crisp up really well. So you want to keep it thin. If they're too thick, then they don't get crispy. So I'll show you what I mean. Okay, there we go. So you're just going to start cutting out your cookie shapes here. As many will go in that roll. And then when we're done, we're going to pick up the scraps and roll it back again and make more. Okay, so we got 5 in our first run here. Then you're going to take your little apple core and you're going to make a hole right in the center. Because that's how Samoa cookies are. They have this cute little hole in the center. But you don't have to do that. You could just make them into just a cookie if this is too fussy for you. All right, then very carefully scoop them up with a spatula and transfer them to your baking tray. And even if, like this one came apart a little bit, don't worry about it. It will be fine. You can kind of just gently press it back together with your fingers. I'm going to finish doing these up, and then I'll take you to our next step, which is that delicious coconutty date caramely topping. Okay, so this made 9 cookies. So if you want to make more, by all means, double that recipe because they are that good. All right, so now they're going to go into the oven for 15 minutes. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of free printable recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook series, are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting membership community. So if you love our recipes, I invite you to join us on our mission to make plant-based cooking easy, and follow the link in the description to become a supporting member today. There's no denying the plant-based diet is a nutrient powerhouse, but did you know there are a handful of hard-to-get nutrients even well-crafted diets are often lacking? The latest research suggests that complementing your diet with a few specific vitamins, minerals, and omega-3s will help boost your energy and keep you thriving for the long term. That's why my daily health routine includes Complement Essential. Complement Essential contains the 8 critical nutrients lacking from most plant-based diets in dosages optimized specifically for us. As a special discount for our viewers, just use code PLANTBASEDEASY at checkout to save 15% off of your order. So for that delicious topping, we're going to go with 1.5 cups of dates and 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. All right, so we're going to do that first before we add our coconut. I'm going to mix this up until it's kind of like a date paste consistency. I also have 4 tablespoons of water here just to help get that moving so that it makes a nice silky paste. Okay, so now on to the coconut. This is 1.5 cups of toasted coconut. It's an unsweetened coconut, and I just put it in my toaster oven and watched it really carefully till it turns this really nice golden color. We're going to add that to that, and we're just going to pulse until it's really mixed well together, but you don't want it to completely pulverize those pieces of coconut. You still want to know that it's coconut in there. Okay, there we go. See that? How it still looks kind of crumbly. It doesn't look just like a paste. All right, I'm going to grab my parchment paper and rolling pin, all the stuff that we had before, because we're going to do that same method like we did with the cookie again. All right, so we're going to do the same method here with our caramely topping, just rolling it out to that same thickness. And you can probably do this just slightly thicker, because it is going to be sticky and kind of delicate to get onto your cookie. All right, so cut with your cookie cutters just the same. Make your hole in the center. All right, now this part's really delicate. So you want to just carefully do this, and it's best if the cookies are still slightly warm. I've got my cookies over here, already out of the oven, because the warmness will help that caramely mixture stick to them. Very carefully, and then just set it right on top of your cookie. Make sure it's centered so the center hole lines up. I'm going to finish these up, and then I'll show you how we're going to do that chocolate. Okay, so for the chocolate, this is some unsweetened chocolate chips that I put in a pan of water with a kind of a shallow dish on top, because you need something kind of shallow because we're going to be dipping the bottom of the cookie in there. So I just put it on essentially like a double broiler to melt it very evenly. All right, we're going to start with our cookie. You're just going to gently hold it. You know, you kind of want to hold it on opposite ends or sides of the cookie, and then just dip it so just the bottom is getting coated. Kind of shake it off a little bit and then put it back on the parchment. All right, I'm going to do the rest of these and then I'll show you how to drizzle. All right, so on to the drizzle. So you take your same bowl, you get a little bit in your spoon, and then you start kind of off of the cookie. You don't want to start over the cookie, so you get that nice back and forth motion. Hopefully I can pull this off here. There we go, just back and forth, just like that. You just continue until you're done, and then we're gonna stick them in the freezer just to solidify and to solidify the chocolate on the bottom for about 20 minutes or so. All right, they are out of the freezer. If you want to come in and take a look at these, so you can see how nice that bottom is and the top. Ooh, great. All right, I'm gonna grab a little cup of milk and I'll meet you at the table for a taste. Okay, my favorite part, and I've got some ice cold soy milk here. Oh my goodness. So delicious. You're gonna love it. Come on back next week for another great recipe.